Good morning, friends of First Presbyterian Church of Allentown, and to anyone else who may be joining us this morning. Thanks for being here. My name is Andy Baranek, and I have been a member at FPCA for about 8 years, and currently I am serving as a deacon. My prayer question for today is, when you hear the word neighbor, what comes to mind? My initial reaction to the word neighbor takes me back to my childhood days of growing up in downtown Allentown, where many of us lived in row homes with many neighbors very close to us. Our next door neighbors were those people who lived in the houses directly adjacent to ours, on each side. Then we had many other neighbors up and down our street, and up and down the nearby streets. For our family, it was a way of life to get to know many of our neighbors in many of the nearby homes. That's mostly because of the example provided by my parents. They had a natural way of connecting with and interacting with many of the people in our neighborhood. We spent much time in the yards and homes of other neighbors, and they spent much time in ours, as my mother and father always made our home a welcoming place to our neighbors and our friends. And I was blessed to have a rather large group of friends who gathered to play all kinds of games in the back alley behind our homes. Growing up, my brother and sisters and I could name and identify very many of our neighbors who lived in our neighborhood. And even now, some 50 to 60 years later, we can still remember many of our neighbors and the homes they lived in. I was also fortunate to have the Boys Club, which is now the Boys and Girls Club, as it should be, at the end of my block. There I played with a lot of neighbors. Jordan Park was just a short walk away, and that is where I played Little League sports, swam in the big public pool, and participated in the Allentown Summer Playground Program activities with a lot of other kids from the neighborhood. We grew up with a great appreciation of our neighborhood and our neighbors, even though I am sure that we probably annoyed many of them as we hopped their fences to retrieve our footballs, baseballs, kickballs, and whatever else we were playing with from their gardens and flower beds, and not to mention the noise we made while playing all kinds of games on late summer nights. Did we like all of our neighbors? Certainly not, but we were taught to know them, accept and respect them, watch out for them, and help them. Our neighbors were meaningful to us, not because of the homes or things they owned. Heck, we all lived in the same narrow row homes with tiny yards and an alley in the back, but simply because they were the people with whom we shared our neighborhood. But thanks to our parents and the parents of many of my friends, we learned the value of living together, the value of community, right there in our immediate neighborhood, which really was my life until I grew into my adult years. And of course, then my world expanded. Let's take a moment to think about the meaning of the word neighbor in the way that Jesus would. In the Bible, we learn that Jesus tells us that the two greatest commandments are to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. In the parable of the Good Samaritan, a famous story told by Jesus, it is demonstrated to us that our neighbor is anyone in need, transcending social, religious, cultural, and ethnic barriers, and also barriers of proximity. It highlights that compassion, not just ritual, is central to loving God and others and our neighbors. This famous parable also tells us that our neighbors could be anyone who God brings into our path, encompassing not just friends or fellow believers, but also strangers, foreigners, and enemies. Wow. But then who really are our neighbors? Does that mean that we need to have an awareness of all kinds of people who really could be our neighbors here in our local community, across our country, and throughout the world? And I believe the answer is yes, if we claim to be Christians. So how do we gain this awareness of all of our neighbors? Hopefully, we can nurture an understanding, an awareness, and an appreciation of the idea of who our neighbors are early in the lives of our children and youth. But then that understanding, awareness, and appreciation of who our neighbors are should hopefully expand throughout our adult lives. And that's where it takes a personal effort to put aside some of our own issues, concerns, and consumptions, and to be proactively in touch with the lives and needs of our neighbors, right here and around the world. Of course, we can use our modern technology to keep us informed of our neighbors around the world and their struggles and their needs, and that is good. But what has helped me personally with recognizing and responding to the needs of our neighbors is to physically seek out and get involved with efforts that put you right in the presence of our neighbors in need, working with them, giving of yourself to them, live, sharing your time, conversations, food, clothing, and many other resources. Our church provides many ways for us to get involved with these kinds of efforts. And for that, I have been so very thankful. So if you are feeling driven to make a difference in the lives of our neighbors, please try to seek out the opportunities right here at FPCA to get involved, locally and even worldwide. Let's close in prayer. Dear God, thank you for all of our neighbors, those who we know personally, those who we never met, those who are like us, those who are different from us, those who live nearby, those who live around the world, those who need our help, and those who can help us. Let us get to know them and connect with them and interact with them in the ways that Jesus showed us, the ways that can make this world a better place. Amen. Have a great day.